this edition of News Leader on 6. I'm Jim Fuller. In tonight's news, deer season starts Saturday. Dolly Parton received $100 million to invest in charities, and we'll have more footage from Tullahoma's Veterans Day event. We'll have these stories and more on tonight's News Leader on 6.
Here at Barkview Senior Living, they're human friendly. That's why I love it here, and so does my senior human. When they want a bite, they get chef-prepared meals, and so do I. Movies in the theater, day trips, walks on the trail, and other senior humans to play with. The grass and the grounds are exquisite. It's everything my human needs to be healthy and active. Parkview Senior Living, for your dog's best friend, you.
Hi, I'm Fran Gray with Alzheimer's Tennessee. When you receive a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease for yourself or someone you love, please know that you do not have to go through this journey alone. Alzheimer's Tennessee is here for you to provide support and education, all the help you may need to get through this challenge. Our number is 931-434-2348. We encourage you to give us a call. We're here to help.
We teach Parkinson's patients how to move big and not let the Parkinson's slow them down. I've had patients I've treated in-house that could not even stand up, could not roll over in the bed, left the facility walking with a walker, have come back to us in outpatient and continued their big program and are now completely, handling life. The success of the program is just phenomenal.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. Tennessee's 2022-23 statewide gun hunting season for deer opens Saturday, November the 19th. The season traditionally opens each year on the Saturday prior to Thanksgiving, so folks can have venison alongside the turkey. During gun season, sportsmen may also use muzzle loaders or archery equipment. Jason Maxedon, Executive Director of the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, said, quote, "Deer hunting season is one of our state's most cherished traditions. We hope everyone will be able to get into the woods and have the opportunity to carry someone with you to continue that tradition," end quote. The statewide bag limit for antlered deer antlered bucks is two. More than one antlered deer may be taken per day, or no more than one can be taken per day. In Unit CWD, there is a time limit of there is a limit of 3 antlerless deers per day with no season limit. Anyone born on or after January the 1st, 1969 is required to carry proof of satisfactory completion of a hunter education class or be in possession of an apprentice hunting license along with other required licenses while hunting any species in Tennessee. Hunter education can be completed online for free. For more information about Tennessee's 2022-23 deer hunting season, the exact boundaries of deer units, and complete license requirements, refer to the current Tennessee Hunting and Trapping Guide available online at tnwildlife.org or the TWRA phone app. Physical copies can be picked up at an agency or licensed agent retail location. At Friday's Tullahoma Veterans Day program, retired Colonel Beverly Lee spoke about the new AEDC base commander, Colonel Randall Gordon, before he spoke to the crowd.
To introduce Air Force Colonel Randall Laz Gordon, the commander of Arnold Engineering Development Complex. And just 8 miles from this to South Jackson Civic Center, Colonel Gordon is leading more than 3,500 personnel working in 68 different aerospace test facilities in 11 locations across 8 states. And there are several reasons that make him an excellent leader for AEDC. His education. Colonel Gordon got his commission from the United States Air Force Academy and got his bachelor's degree in aeronautical engineering and a minor in mathematics. He has a Master of Science degree in Aeronautical Engineering Systems Engineering from the Air Force Institute of Technology at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He then went on to receive his doctorate in strategy at the School of Advanced Air and Space Studies at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. And of course, if you're going to fly multi-million-dollar airplanes and jets, and you're going to lead an organization like Arnold Engineering Development Center at Arnold Air Force Base with $12 billion in assets and an $864 million economic development impact on our region, then you should also be a Harvard Business School alumnus. Now, combine that education with the skills. Out of the Air Force Academy, then Second Lieutenant Gordon was selected to fly the F-15C Eagle, and just 5 years later, not even 5 years later, he was selected to attend the test pilot school at Edwards Air Force Base, becoming a developmental test pilot. He now is a command pilot with over 3,000 flying hours in 70 different types of airplanes. 70. He is also a combat veteran, and he flew in support of Operation Northern Watch and Operation Enduring Freedom. And of course, you cannot leave out his leadership. He has served as a squadron commander and as the F-22 Combined Test Force commander. Just prior to coming to AEDC, he was the 412th Test Wing Vice Commander at Edwards Air Force Base. And because of his education and skills and knowledge, as well as his high energy and engaging personality, you'll see soon, Colonel Gordon was selected for some very unique and untraditional assignments that have put him on the forefront of innovation for your United States Air Force. He was a presidential fellow, and he served a fellowship at the Defense Advanced Research Projects Office called DARPA. He also spent 3 years in Boston, and he was working at a location that is known to be the most innovative square mile on the planet. There, Colonel Gordon was the initial cadre director for the Secretary of the Air Force's Artificial Intelligence Accelerator at MIT. He was also in the initial cadre of the Secretary of the Air Force's AFWERX Technology Innovation Team. He's collaborated with scientists, engineers, professors, as well as business and technology leaders, some of the brightest minds in our nation, which is the very same thing that General Hap Arnold did throughout his career. With the significant advances of China and Russia in their space and hypersonic systems, Colonel Gordon is at the right place at the right time.
We'll be right back after these messages.
MacArthur Manor Assisted Living is passionate about creating better experiences for our Manchester seniors. Our residents describe us in a few words.
Welcoming.
When you walk through the doors at MacArthur Manor, we'll treat you like family.
Caring.
Through high standards of personalized care, we help residents live life to its fullest.
Engaging.
With a wide range of life-enriching activities, there is something for everyone at MacArthur Manor. With our residents and staff now vaccinated, call us today to schedule your safe and personalized tour.
We tend to lose our motivation when we have something that's chronic, but you've got to do what you can early on as you can. After I'd exercise like that, I would have a lot of energy to do housework or whatever I needed. Well, I would recommend it highly to anyone at any degree of Parkinson.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. ADC's newest base commander, Colonel Randall Gordon, addressed the crowd at Friday's Veterans Day Assembly in Tullahoma.
Well, I wanted to share a couple of different war stories today, just to kind of put a little bit of a good feeling, if you will, on Veterans Day and kind of what that means to me. By no means can I speak on every veteran's experience, but I can certainly speak on mine, and hopefully you pull something out of this story. So I grew up in upstate New York, and when I was there, I've noticed a couple of folks with Vietnam veteran hats. How many Vietnam veterans do we have here today? Can you raise your hand, please? Thank you. I grew up around a lot of Vietnam veterans. And coming up as a kid, what was apparent to me was two things. One, there was tremendous love and pride for what it meant to serve this nation. That was the first thing that came to mind. The second thing that came to mind is that there was a great wound that, for whatever reason, this nation just didn't resolve until it was way, way too late. Now, it eventually did. But that sense of love, but then that sense of hurt, and trying to resolve those two, but still being able to stand up and stand proud, I was really impressed by it. And it was those Vietnam veterans that really explained to me the meaning of what service meant. I saw a couple of folks, how many Desert Storm veterans are around here today? 1, 2, thank you. Please stand, please, thank you. So imagine, now I'm in high school. We had seen everything about Desert Shield and all the things that Saddam Hussein said at the time, this war that would have a beginning to no end, the mother of all battles, all of those things. This is back when 24/7 news coverage was a brand new thing on CNN, and I was transfixed because I remembered this pain that the Vietnam veterans had, but that same pride in their nation. And now on television, I was going to get a chance to actually see what combat and what war meant, and to see if the nation actually finally repaired that, and to watch what occurred in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. I was personally very deeply inspired by that. I saw American fighter pilots stepping out to their airplanes with the shoulder bag, over the one shoulder, flight suit on, all of their gear. And I saw them walking to their F-16s and their F-15s, and there was a CNN reporter that shoved a microphone in one of those fighter pilots' faces, and essentially he said, "I am proud to be an American and fighting combat missions for my nation, and to be able to try to bring freedom and stability to the world." And with that, just walked away, dropped the microphone, and kept walking towards the airplane. And to see the result of that combat, to see how the nation finally repaired a bit of that wound and came around and rallied around our troops, and to see the victory parades on the back end of that. As a young 16-year-old at the time, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I wanted to join the United States military. I wanted to fly for this nation. And I wanted to do those things that I saw the Vietnam vets and the Desert Storm vets do. Incidentally, my grandfather was a veteran of World War II. He drove tanks in Patton's army across Europe. And so I grew up in this kind of tradition, this military tradition that I was proud to join at the Air Force Academy back in 1994. So again, to all the veterans that are in the room, and to the men and women that love them and are part of them, that say thank you for your service. From one veteran, I just want to be able to say thank you for that as well. So here's the war story that kind of wraps around that. So again, I'm a little kid. I'm super excited about what it means to join the military. I finally get a chance to do that. And I was going to share with you just a couple of different stories, combat stories. I wanted to stay a little bit away from the engineering stuff because around here at Arnold, we're all super nerds, and we're very proud about that. But I think it's also important because to me, one of the big salient events of my career were the combat missions that I got a chance to fly. So the first story involves Operation Northern Watch. So this was back when we had the no-fly zones over North Iraq and Southern Iraq. And we had a routine rotation there for a number of years. It was my first combat sortie. And I remember deploying to Turkey and flying missions out of Incirlik Air Force Base and flying over northern Iraq, areas like Erbil and Mosul. And what was amazing to me is that every day that we flew missions there, our pilots, right, which was a big coalition that we had of British and Navy and Air Force and Marine pilots that were there, we were shot at every single solitary mission that we did. Now, they were smart about it. They knew enough not to turn on all of their systems because then we could very quickly figure out where they were and we could return fire. But they were getting very, very good at being able to shoot with what we call optically guided, which essentially is Kentucky windage, where they would launch surface-to-air missiles and air-to-air weapons at us while we were flying missions over northern Iraq and also southern Iraq. So I'm a young F-15 pilot by this point, and every mission that I had flown up to that point was a training mission. You would walk up to the airplane, there were no live weapons loaded on board, everything was simulated on board with the computer. All the way up until I walked up to my F-15 that day, and the image in my mind is always, it's seared in my mind. The Eagle is a gigantic fighter jet, twin-engine beast. You gotta love its name. I mean, it just conjures up all those images of America when it's called the Eagle. And this was the first time, I had seen the Eagle in pictures, I'd flown it a lot by that point, but this was the first time, that first combat mission, where I had seen it fully loaded for bear. External fuel tanks attached on the outside, missiles, everything, right? It was ready to go, and it was stuffed into this hardened aircraft shelter that was just barely big enough for this gigantic airplane. And I remember walking around it, and this revelation kind of came to my mind of, I'm flying over areas where if something happens to me, the people that are going to run out to whatever remains of my airplane and me in my ejection seat, they're not there as friendly people. They're coming to get me, and I'm going to be the next guy sitting on cable news, maybe getting tortured, right? And it was this very sobering moment of, this is what it meant, right, to be in this uniform, to be in bad guy land, and to be serving on behalf of this nation, standing up to evils in the world, and kind of what that meant. I remember looking down the line, so I see my F-15 in all of its glory. It was the most fearsome thing I think I had seen to that point in my life. And I'm looking down the left, and I'm looking down the right, and I see all of my squadron mates, all of my other fellow F-15 fighter pilots. And I'm looking further down, and I'm seeing the American AWACS airplane, this big radar surveillance airplane that's sitting out there. I'm seeing the Marines who are flying this big jammer airplane called the EA-6 Prowler. And I'm looking down, and I'm seeing my Brits, and I'm just seeing this massive armada of airplanes, and I just had this thought. The first thought was a sobering thought of we're flying in bad guy land. The second thought is, these are my brothers and my sisters. And no matter what we face, we're going to face it together. And I will take death before dishonor. I want to make sure that I do not let them down. And I knew that in their minds, they were thinking the exact same thing about me. And I'll tell you, right, when I was growing up with those Vietnam vets, and my grandfather, right, and Desert Storm, that's that same sense of it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood. Together, right, we are going to do what's necessary to defend around this world. In that moment, that came very, very crystal clear to me in that moment. Now, I flew a mission, we did get shot at. I'll tell you, there's nothing more thrilling than getting shot at and missed. We were able to figure out where they shot at us from, and I got a chance to fly some top cover over a series of Strike Eagles that were going in to attack the target that attacked us. And I remember coming back from that mission, and we pull up into the end of the runway, and we're getting ready to, taxi back in, and right next to me, some of the other F-15s pulled up, and they had a big American flag, folded, sitting right in the canopy where you could see it for everyone. And I tell you, I looked at America very, very differently after that moment. That moment on that deployment was only overshadowed by one other event, and it was coming back home to Baltimore, which was our big airport. We would fly from Europe and then get back into Baltimore, and that's where they would process you, and then you would go back to wherever you came from. As I walked into the airport at Baltimore off of this airplane, we've been flying for 15, 16 hours, and we walk up the gangway, and sure enough, the members of the USO were sitting there at Baltimore Airport with little American flags. And they were waving them as we came up, and we didn't expect that at all. And when you deployed in defense of your nation, and you've gone to countries where you don't have that freedom, like what we're all used to, now you see what that is like, and then you come back to it. It's overpowering. You are so grateful for being a member of the United States, to be in this uniform. And I'm forever grateful to those USO members that took time out of their day. They didn't even know us, but they just knew that we were returning servicemen and women, and they wanted to show support and say, welcome home. And that just completely bowled me over. So that's war story number one.
And we'll have part 2 of Colonel Gordon's speech on Tuesday's news. More news is coming up in a moment.
It's not invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. Get to Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
There's a lot of talk about the risks associated with the COVID-19 vaccine, but the reality is, it's safer than going for a run. Give it a shot. Find a free appointment today at covid19.tn.gov.
Welcome back, and no coverage of Tullahoma's Veterans Day program would be complete without Lloyd Smith's performance of the Armed Forces Medley.
Off we go in the mountain yonder, climbing high in the sky. Here they come to the lead of thunder, and the boys hear the cry. Now we rise, counting our flames on thunder, off we walk, never war. We did it, came from the down and came, we're going to stop the USA force. Over the hills, over the dale, we have hit the dusty ground, and the army was rolling along. It is not, I'm marching all about, and the army was rolling along. For it's high in the Philadelphia, down to Rockford on the strong. For wherever you go, you will always know that the army was rolling along. We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through high gale and shot and shell, to win the victory. Distant rock is our guide, our flame, our motto too. We're always ready to our guide. Like Coast Guard, we fight for you. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail and play all day, 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 day. Our last night on shore, hail to the Lord. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we are flying our country's battle in the air of land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of the United States Marine.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Parkview Senior Living, active, independent senior living at its finest.
Since the moment you were born, I've made 1,000 wishes. Wishes for your future in a world that's changing fast. Do play and laugh. Do win and lose. Do it all with confidence, kindness, and strength. And always do your best to remember that no matter what you do in this life, what matters to me is that you keep doing.
Welcome back. Country music star and philanthropist Dolly Parton recently received a $100 million prize from the Bezos Courage and Civility Award given by Amazon.com founder billionaire Jeff Bezos, an honor that recognizes leaders who pursue solutions with courage and civility. When Dolly received the award, Her response was, "Wow, did you say $100 million?" I think people who are in a position to help should put their money where their heart is. I will do the best to do good things with this money, end quote. Parton, who this month was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, also has founded a number of charities, including the Dollywood Foundation, which focuses on education as well as poverty relief, and the Imagination Library, aimed at encouraging children's literacy. The Bezo Award was started in 2001 with prizes first going to activist Van Jones, who served as founding CEO of the Reform Alliance and Dream Corp, along with chef and humanitarian Jose Andre, who established the World's Central Kitchen, which provided food in the immediate aftermath of disasters. We're sure that Dolly will find an excellent use for this money. Stay with us. Your weather forecast is coming up next.
MacArthur Manor Assisted Living is passionate about creating better experiences for our Manchester seniors. Our residents describe us in a few words.
Welcoming.
When you walk through the doors at MacArthur Manor, we'll treat you like family.
Caring.
Through high standards of personalized care, we help residents live life to its fullest.
Engaging.
With a wide range of life-enriching activities, there is something for everyone at MacArthur Manor. With our residents and staff now vaccinated, call us today to schedule your safe and personalized tour.
So you've been meaning to do something healthy, commune with nature, get outdoors and meet new people. We have the perfect solution. Come hike with us. You can find a Tennessee Trails Association chapter near you, including Clarksville, Columbia Franklin, Highland Rim, Jackson, Knoxville, Oak Ridge, Memphis, Murfreesboro, Nashville, Plateau at Crossville, and Upper Cumberland. We're on the web at TennesseeTrails.org. It's fun, it's stress-free, and it's good for you. See you on the trails.
Welcome back. We'll take a look at your weather forecast at this time, starting with your weather history on this day. Our record high was in 1958 at 80 degrees. The record low was in 1901 at 13 degrees. Average high on this day is 59, and the average low is 36. Clear and cold weather expected tonight with a low of 22. Sunny weather in the forecast for Friday with a high of 46 and a low of 22. And on Saturday, sunny weather in the forecast with a high of 45 and a low of 20. And that's our News Leader report for this evening. We invite you to join us each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6, 8, and 10 for News Leader on 6. You have a good evening.